Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. Now, the Forge is an area for me to talk about Magic, Commander, and anything else while I try and bring this whole mental health thing back into order. Now, today we're going to start by talking about how I'm a brewer who sometimes changes my mind. And I have a deck that I'm building that I'm going to use as an example of that. So, originally, I pulled Joshua Phoenix's Dominant from one of my pre-releases, and I was like, oh, that's neat. It's an interesting space for Boros. And I thought about playing it with all of the summons that are sagas. Just for reference, Joshua Phoenix's Dominant is a red and a white for a 3/4 human noble wizard. When he enters, you can discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards, and then for 3, a red and a white, tap it, and exiling it, you return it to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. It comes back as Phoenix, Warden of Fire, so it's a saga. Enchantment creature. Steps 1 and 2 are the same. With Rising Flames, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and then on steps 3, it is Flames of Rebirth. You can return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile the Phoenix, and then return it to the battlefield with its front face up. It is a 4/4 with flying and lifelink. But as I was looking at things and stuff, I realized I kind of want green in this deck. And that's just because I want to go for a saga list that's not 5-color, and adding green to white and red increases the number of sagas you have access to from like 15 to 30 something. And thus I went on the quest to find who I wanted to be the commander. And I came up with 3 options, and I'm going to go over all of them, but I'm going to save the one that I went with for last. So first up we have Evior Wolfkiss, which is 3 and Naya, so green, white, and red, for a 7/6 human assassin warrior with trample and haste. When it deals combat damage to a player, you mill that many cards. You can put a saga card and or a land card from among them onto the battlefield. I don't hate this ability. I just don't want a commander that's 6 mana, because Lord knows he gonna get removed a bunch. That's kind of the same issue I had with my next one, which is Javi the Allfather. So it's 3 and again Naya for 6/6 God Warrior. Has indestructible as long as there are 4 or more historic cards in your graveyard. And it has the ability Sage Project. Whenever Javi or another legendary creature you control dies, return target legendary creature card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And instead, I know these are all Assassin's Creed cards, but I settled on Sigurd Jarl of Ravensthorpe. It's Naya, so red, green, white, for a 3/3 human warrior. It has Vigilance, Trample, and Lifelink, which would make this great for, a Voltron deck, but that's not what we're going for here. It has a boast ability, so when it attacks, you can pay 1 to put a lore counter on target saga you control or remove 1 from it. And whenever you put a lore counter on a saga you control, you put a counter on up to 1 other target creature. And this deck is nowhere near complete, but I just kind of wanted to touch on it's fine to change your mind when you're brewing a deck. And who knows? The final project might not look anything like what you expected. But that said, I'm going to take my little break here. And when I come back, we're going to talk about some birds. And we're back. Now, I pulled a Choco Seeker of Paradise from one of our pre-releases, and I've been slowly putting birds into it. And there's there was a thought between me and my cousin that because the chocobos don't have flying, it kind of gives you more utility from the bloom burrow birds that like to give things flying. And so that's kind of what I've been settling on. But Choco is 1 and Bant for a 3/5 bird. And whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You can put one of them into your hand, put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest go into your graveyard. And it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Choco gets +1/+0 till end of turn. So, I kind of want to touch on some of the non-flying birds first. So, first up we have things like Saz's Chocobo. It's single green for a 0/1 bird. It has landfall. It gets a +1/+1 counter. Owlbear Cub from D&D is 2 and a green for a 3/3 bird bear, and it has an ability called Mama's Coming. Whenever the Owlbear Cub attacks a player who controls 8 or more lands, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You can put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and attacking that player, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Of course, we have the Traveling Chocobo, 2 and a green for a 3/2 bird. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You can play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. If a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Next up we have Bart's and Boko, 3 green for a 4/3 human bird with affinity for birds. When Bart's and Boko enters, each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. There are a few other ones, like the backside of side quest Raise a Chocobo, which is 1 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters, you make a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land enters, it gets +1/+0 till end of turn. And at the beginning of your first main phase, if you control 4 or more birds, you transform this enchantment. It becomes a black chocobo. It's a 2/2 bird. When it transforms into the black chocobo, you search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. And it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, birds you control get +1/+0 till end of turn. So this is like a nice big pump for the team. But let's see, what else? I've got the Chocobo Racetrack, which is 3 green for an artifact with landfall. Whenever a land enters, you make the 2/2 green bird creature token with the landfall gets +1/+0 till end of turn. And then we kind of get into the things that have flying. And there are a couple more Chocobos in the deck, but I don't necessarily want to do an exhaustive list. So let's go over some of the other things in the deck. First up, we have Kengi, the Airy Keeper. 2, a white and a blue for a 2/2. It says legend, but I'm 90% sure the errata is like bird wizard. It has kicker for 2 and X, and it has flying. When it comes into play, if you paid its kicker cost, put X feather counters on it, and all birds get +1/+1 for each feather counter on Kengi, the Airy Keeper. Now, Kengi has at least one other card. Yes, Kengi Sky Warden is 3, a white and a blue for a 3/3 bird wizard with flying and vigilance. When it attacks, attacking creatures with flying get +2/+0 till end of turn. When it blocks, blocking creatures with flying get +0/+2 till end of turn. And there's other things that care about things with flying. Like Guayahir the Windlord is 4, a white and a blue for a 4/4 bird noble. It costs 2 less to cast as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. It has flying and vigilance, but other birds you control also have vigilance. So it doesn't necessarily get flying to everything, but vigilance is also pretty good. Things like the Warden of Evos Isle, which is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 bird wizard with flying, but creature spells you with flying that you cast costs 1 less to cast. Empyrean Eagle is 1, a white and a blue for a 2/3 bird spirit with other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as they have flying. And then the one non-bird I have in the deck so far is Errant and Giada, which is 1, a white and a blue for a 2/3 human angel. With flash flying, you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast spells with flash or flying from the top of your deck. So, unfortunately, can't get chocobos with that, but there's a ton of birds. It's just, yeah. Watcher of the Spheres is a white and a blue for a 2/2 bird wizard with flying, and creature spells with flying cost 1 less to cast, and whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, the Watcher gets +1/+1 till end of turn. It just, yeah, there's just a lot of utility and flying, and when things enter, they do things. And again, I don't want to get into all of it, but there are a few more I want to touch on. One of my favorite birds ever in Magic is the Wingmate Rock. 3 white for a 3/4 bird with flying and raid. When it enters the battlefield, if you attacked with the creature this turn, create a 3/4 white bird creature token with flying, and whenever it attacks, you get 1 life for each attacking creature. It's just, I've been playing Magic for a long time, and it was just one of those. It was big in Standard or back when I played, and it was always a house. Now, moving on. Next up, we have Finch Formation, which is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 bird scout with offspring for 3. Which means when you cast this, you can pay an additional 3. If you do, you make a copy of it. That's a 1/1 token copy of it. It has flying, and when this creature enters, target creature you control gains flying till end of turn. So this is a good example of the Bloom Burrow birds giving things flying. Next up, we have the Plume Creed Mentor, which is 1, a white and a blue for a 2/3 bird scout with flying. Whenever it or another creature you control with flying enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature control without flying. So, more utility in the, perhaps we just make our commander much harder to block because we're making it huge. Yeah, that kind of thing. Next up, we have Lend Roval, Horizon Witness. 4 and a white for a 3/4 bird noble with flying. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, target attacking creature without flying gains flying till end of turn. And, we're going to want to be swinging with birds, so why not? Now, the one that's probably the best at giving flying to our non-flyers is Salvation Swan. 3 and a white for a 3/3 bird cleric. It has flash flying, and whenever Salvation Swan or another bird you control enters, exile up to 1 target creature you control without flying. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it at the beginning of the next end step. So, just because this is repeatable, so even just getting a flying token on our commander is pretty good, but getting it on any of the chocobos we have is pretty good. Doesn't work so great with the token chocobos, but say la vie. And then we'll round out this list with, I get to play the mana birds. I get a Birds of Paradise, which is a single green for a 0/1 bird flying, tap, add 1 mana of any color. I love the flex of getting a Choco trigger by attacking for 0 with a Birds of Paradise. And you can say the same for the next one, which is Gilded Goose, which is a single green for a 0/2 bird with flying. When it enters, you make a food token. You can pay 1 in a green and tap it to create a food token, and you can tap it to sacrifice a food token to add 1 mana of any color. But yeah, that's kind of the deck in a nutshell right now. I am still waiting to finish this out. I'm missing 6 or 7 cards, and then I've still got to figure out a mana base. I have an idea for the mana base, but it's going to be later when I don't have things planned that are going to cost me money. But that said, I think I'm going to call it there. It's been a information full day. That said, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.